Hi everybody, welcome to another edition of IndyCar on the 30th of July. I'm Gordon Ross. The news today is really, well, to be fair, there's not an awful lot of news around. Everybody's still talking about Boris Johnson and his visit to Bute House yesterday. And a lot has been made of the body language of both Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister and as Nicola Sturgeon as the First Minister. And what that says about the way things went within Bute House. Nicola Sturgeon has already been quoted as saying that there was a lively discussion where there was a lot of this, she would have said toing and froing. The toing and froing means basically batting back and forwards, and that usually in diplomatic speak means that they're two completely different viewpoints, and neither of them is compatible with the other. And Nicola came out yesterday from the meeting convinced that Boris Johnson is heading towards a no-deal Brexit, and that despite the rhetoric that he's putting out, no-deal Brexit is the preferred option because it's the only logical destination that his plans that are being made at the moment for no-deal Brexit, all of it is pointing towards no-deal being the desired outcome of Boris's. So where does it leave Scotland? Well, somebody pointed out yesterday, and it wasn't a person from the independence campaign who pointed this out, this was like a meeting of the Prime Minister of one country with the First Minister of another country, and for the first time a unionist said in writing that this was what this looks like. This looks like the leaders of two completely different countries meeting up on the Scottish First Minister's territory, her version of Downing Street. And the unionist commentator who was saying this went on to say that this cannot be allowed, you know, that there's no way that Scotland is anything other than just a region of the United Kingdom. And this is basically what this all boils down to, is the fact that there will always be some people who regard Scotland as a non-country, even those who live here. There will always be some who regard Scotland as the poor neighbour of England, or as a poor acquired country which has been bought or paid for, or is being supported by, or is being colonised by the larger state. Nicola Sturgeon's made it very, very clear, though, that her view is that we're heading for a no-deal Brexit, but she interestingly has not said anything about when there will be an independence vote. But she did reiterate to Boris yesterday that she plans to go through with the job of pushing through legislation which will pave the way for a legal plebiscite on independence by the Scottish people, with or without a Section 30 order, although she is still hoping, forlornly, because we know it's not going to happen, but hoping there might be a Section 30 order. But Boris Johnson, of course, is never going to do that. As well as body language, the location language of Boris Johnson's visit is worth mentioning as well. Far from taking any surface transport, Boris Johnson chose to fly into Scotland and to fly over Scotland, not once really taking any great amount of time on the ground, deliberately avoiding any confrontation with any Scottish people who are supposedly citizens of this United Kingdom, this so-called precious union. And yet he's not willing to face them, he's not willing to talk to them, he's not willing to answer questions from them, and he's basically just not willing generally. And even when you look at the footage shot by Dave Llewellyn from the independence campaign, Dave was there on his own bat with his mobile phone filming the whole arrival. If you look at the footage, what you can see is that the crowds are being held back at least 50 metres away from the Prime Minister all the time. And he was surrounded by 6 or 8 bodyguards as well as his personal aides. So the man is obviously being guarded very closely. They view any interaction with any of the Scottish population as some kind of a threat to his person. When he got to the top of the stairs, much was made in the press of this, by the way, of Boris Johnson and Nicola Sturgeon's body language. Boris Johnson appearing at one point to try and invite Nicola Sturgeon into her own house, at which point she sort of waved him away angrily and ushered them inside. This was not the body language of two leaders who are friendly. It's not the body language of two leaders who have a shared future or a shared vision of the future. This was the body language of two countries which are about to separate. Scotland very much fed up with being ignored and having its wishes completely ignored. And Boris Johnson steaming in there and grinning and basically saying the usual crap, basically saying, oh, we're going to go the extra 1,000 miles. I mean, what the hell does that mean? That he's going to go all out for a deal? He's not going to go all out for a deal because he made sure that no deal is what the UK is preparing for. So we're at a stage now where we can see quite clearly that there are two countries heading in different directions with leaders with completely different ambitions for their countries. Boris wants to leave the European Union and wants Britain to start again from scratch with a blank sheet of paper. Now that means going right back to the beginning. And as he did that, more or less as the words come out of his mouth, the pound plunged on the currency markets. It's now down to about $1.22. It's approaching parity with the euro. It's almost at the point where it's €1. It has actually been below the value of a euro before now, but it's not shown the signs of plunging that it has recently. It has been taking a steep nosedive ever since Boris was elected. And I think most people would anticipate it's going to drop below the value of a euro and probably on parity with the dollar. It could well be that's part of Boris's plan, that the pound plunges so far that it is worth exactly $1. At which point he wants to team up with Boris Johnson and perhaps just convert us over to using dollars, because there might be no point in having UK pounds anymore because they're going to be worth exactly the same as a dollar anyway. You might as well call them British dollars for all the good it would be. So it could well be that that's part of the plan. But it's not part of Nicola's plan, it's not part of Scotland's plan. Scotland's plan is very different. We would be leaving the UK because we have to. We don't have any choice now. It's become almost inevitable, as Nicola says, that no deal Brexit is where we're headed. And if that is the case, then we must have the opportunity to choose a different path, if that's what we want. And so the opportunity to do that has to be prepared in advance. The question now is, will we be able to hold the vote before Brexit occurs and before all of the normal rules that apply to devolution are either suspended or abolished? And that, I think, is the key. We're at this crucial point in history now where in the next few weeks the Scottish First Minister has to make that difficult decision on when to have this vote. Now, while I'm speaking to you at the moment, I'm watching a little detector which I have in the car, which is detecting a bug which is fitted to the inside ceiling lining of my car at the moment. Now, I know those of you who watch this programme have wondered for a while why you get a lot of interference sometimes, and the reason is that I have a sophisticated GPS tracking bug in the ceiling part of the car here. It's been in here, I think, since the car was originally leased to me. So whoever fitted it way back before I ever got the car, before I even ordered the car. And my car, this car, took a suspiciously long time to get to me. It was over, well, it was more like 8 weeks before I received the car. It was at least 2 or 3 weeks later than it should have been. Maybe that should have rung some alarm bells. But I have a clear signal at the moment that that particular bug is transmitting as I'm speaking to you at the moment. Every time I move or change direction, the intensity of the signal increases. That tells me that this is a tracking bug, and it's allowing whoever is trailing me to find me within about 8 minutes. So goes to show you that I'm not paranoid, and buying a sophisticated bug detector was all it needed to find this. So for those in the United Kingdom security services who are watching where I go and trying to interfere with the broadcasts, well, I now know how you're doing it, and I know your bug is here, and although I'm not going to take it out, it is public knowledge now that you're bugging the car, and I can prove it, and if anybody wants proof, I can show them. At the moment I'm not going to do that, but I know that I'm being followed around, and I know that somebody jams this signal periodically when they can find me, because I've taken several different strategies to try and shake off a tail. The fact that they always find me means that they have tracking on me, and now I've found the bug, and I know where the bug is, and I know what it does. It's quite a sophisticated one. It's wired up to the vehicle's electricity supply so that it has a good strong signal, and it is sending GPS tracking information. Once it finds me, it then sends out a homing signal so that whoever is following me can find me, and it can also possibly transmit a jamming signal from inside the car, and I think that is probably how the jamming is done. At the moment I'm surmising that, but this is a very sophisticated bug, and I've been tracking the way it's been transmitting while I've been driving around. And the interesting thing is that periodically it sends a very strong pulse of information, and then it shuts down and goes to pinging, and then it switches itself off for a while, and then when I stop for a long time it switches itself back on and sends a strong signal. So it's obviously geared up to how I'm moving and where I stop and how long I stop for. So I think it's giving, it's ticking away at the moment. I'm watching the bars on the gauge flickering away here. Imagine that if you've got any sound interference at the moment, that might be what's causing it. But at the present time it's just shut down, it's just switched itself off. So either they're listening to this broadcast and they've taken it offline, or it just shuts itself down after a little while to save energy. Now it's switched back on, and it is making a lot of noise, and I'm watching the red lights on the gauge here flickering. You can perhaps hear a ticking sound. Let me show you this, this might help. I'm going to switch the camera, so bear with me for a moment while I switch the camera around. Can you hear that? Perhaps you can hear the noise rather than see it. Alright, you see the little gauge? Now that's not me, that's whatever is transmitting in the car at the moment. Switched itself off again. You will see it light up a little bit. If I take the phone away, it should stop, because the phone might interfere with it a little bit as well. But anyway, it has been going all day, and I'll switch back to my normal view. Hopefully you can see me again. So definitely being tracked, and I think everybody should probably check their cars and their phones to see if they're being tracked. I have to go and do some work now, but I just thought you might like to know that IndyCar is definitely being tracked and followed. As we speak, the transmitter's going off the scale, and it probably will continue. We'll see if it's working at the moment. Hang on. Can you see that? Okay, proof if you needed it. Anyway, I gotta go, but just remember, people, that they're watching us closely. Let's make sure that we give them something interesting to report when they write their reports at the end of the day. But I'll only ever give you the facts, and the facts at the moment are that England and Scotland are heading in different directions. Even Wales is now at 41% for independence, and there are more marches planned in Wales. So the British government is going to lose control of all 4 parts of the United Kingdom soon. England will probably be the only part that they can actually do much with, but Scotland is definitely going to vote to leave the UK, because there's no other way that we can stop this nonsense from happening. Anyway, I gotta go. I'll talk to you all later. Keep an eye open for bugs in your cars. And if you go online, you'll probably find that you can buy a simple radio frequency scanner that will detect bugs either in your car or in your phone for about 20 quid. Okay, see you later. Bye.